Hi, everybody. You might be a leader or not, but I'm seeing more and more that the communication and the way that we use the words when we are communicating really does matter and really makes a difference. Now that I had a couple of days off, I've been listening tons of podcasts, reading a lot of books chapters, try to understand how I myself can improve my communication skill as a leader. And I want to give you like 5 tips that I noted down, and I'm going to copy a little bit from my cheat sheet, but I think it is going to be very useful because I really never ever thought about those kind of little things might make a huge difference. So, if you're a leader now, if you want to become a leader in the future, please take note of those 5 tips because they are super interesting. This is like how you use language, the words, the proper way to give more or less the same message or instructions or whatsoever, but make the other part feel part of the conversation, listened, and also considered. So, the tip number one is really instead of having a language which is like prove and perform, we use a language which is improve and learn. And let me give you an example. For example, instead of asking the person to whom we are talking to, hey, are we ready to launch the new readiness program? It's a yes or no question, but also it might be a question that the other side might, if he or she says no, then needs to explain why it is no. See, it's kind of an embarrassing situation, isn't it? Instead of asking that, we could just ask, what else do we need to do so that we make sure that we are launching the readiness plan? Wow, that's super. I mean, the purpose is more or less the same, but the way that we are asking and the way that we are making the other side feel is completely different. Instead of are we ready, yes, no, and then embarrass, hey, what else do we need to do, do we think that we need to do to launch this readiness plan? This is very, very interesting. So that's kind of the first takeaway that I have in terms of the communication. Now, the second tip, I need to learn this tip myself a lot, is as a leader, speak less. And there is this book called Leadership is Language from David Marquette that I took and read. Fantastic book. If you want to learn a lot about leadership and communication leadership, I highly recommend that book, Leadership is Language from by David Marquette, making reference to this book. He uses something which is called team language coefficient. People that you know who knows me, they know that I like a lot data, I like the coefficients and everything like that. I never ever heard about the term team language coefficient. Listen careful, this is super mind-blowing, super interesting. Imagine that you're a Microsoft Teams meeting. I hope that every one of you is using Microsoft and also Microsoft Copilot, that I'm in love with, in all honesty, creating a lot of productivity, helping me a lot. But if imagine that you're in a Microsoft Teams meeting and there are software where you can just look at the transcript. If there is no PII information, you can just look at the transcript and look at who is saying what and who is using how many words during a conversation, during a team meeting. That's fascinating idea. I never thought about that. So imagine that, we have like 5 people on the call, and then they measure, we just inject the transcript to a tool. In the tool, it seems that I'm using like 30% of the time with all of the words in terms of counting the words. Someone else is using like 10%, but there is someone who is like 50%, right? When you look at the team language coefficient, it is going to have a big deviation with respect to that person who's taking 50% of the time. So what we really try to do in most of the cases is to see how we can distribute evenly the team language coefficient so that everyone in total is using more or less the same amount of words. It's really amazing. You should really, really try this one time. I'm going to try it for my next couple of meetings, and I'm trying to see how I can calculate that. Possibly I'm going to be like 80%, so I need to learn a lot. So this is the second tip. If you're a leader, speak less and use the team language coefficient so that you can see who is talking more and who is talking less. In one of my videos, I also talk about silent meetings, which is also to be able to see how we can use the silent meeting concept. You can check it in internet, very interesting, to make sure that everyone is participating to the idea. So silent meeting is also a very cool method that I use sometimes, so that everyone really participates in the meeting and feel very valued, and their information are really very valuable. The third tip is asking questions that begin with what or how. For example, did you like the training? If I ask this as a leader to someone, did you like the training? Possibly the other side is going to say yes or no. Maybe there's going to be kind of an explanation on what that yes or no is, but maybe that conversation is just a yes or no conversation. So you're not giving the floor to that person to express, and you are prohibiting yourself to learn as a leader as well, which is very, very interesting. So instead of asking, did you like the training? One of the questions that we can ask is that, what did you learn in the training? And then open the question, right? So that the person who is in front of you can talk about what he or she learned in the training, giving that person the floor to speak. And then you keep on asking questions about on that are starting with what and how, right? How was the training delivered, right? How long was the training? Was the length appropriate, yes or no? It's just still, look, I'm still going deviating to that direction. We need to really avoid that yes or no type of answer. So I need to learn a lot, by the way. The fourth one, which is really very important, is being curious rather than being compelling and trying to push the other side to agree with you in any form and shape, because you have your idea, someone tells you something, blah 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 blah, and then you as a leader would immediately go, because you have another idea in your head and you want to convince the other person rather than understand the other person. You would immediately ask, why would we do that in the way that you're talking, right? So this is kind of really sounds like, when I learn more and more, it sounds a little bit like not so aggressive, but kind of, right? Why would we do that? Instead of asking the why we would we do that, and trying to deviate and get the person in front of you to your direction with those kind of why questions, instead of that, you might want to ask, tell me more about your thinking on that, right? It's the same thing in the end, more or less, right? But you are just opening the door for you to understand, be curious on, hey, the reason that that person can explain on why we would do that, but in a very, very different manner. As you can see, I'm still in the old mindset, right? Why? It's not about that. It's about, hey, tell me more. Okay, tell me a little bit more about that. Hey, tell me, how would you do that, right? So it's just asking curious questions, not to deviate that person to your direction. It's more to understand the way that the other person thinks and have a dialogue there, which is very, very important. The fifth one and the last one is giving information rather than instructions or directions. I also tend to do it a lot. So, for example, let me give you an example. I want the report to be delivered to me on Friday. That's the kind of instruction. And this is a little bit pushy for the person. It is better to say, hey, how realistic is to have this report, or what do you think that it's a realistic time for us to be able to have this report earliest, because the customer wants to have this report Monday, end of business hours. So you're just making sure that you're giving the background on what the need is, but the other side is taking that decision on a realistic decision on when he or she thinks that that report could be delivered. And if there is kind of a disalignment or misalignment between the time that the customer wants the report and the person who we are working with can deliver that maybe in a longer time frame, we again ask what or how type of questions. What do you think that is going to prevent us to have this report, and why do you think that? Again, look, I'm going into the why again, so I also need to get rid of all of those kind of things. So it's kind of an exercise that I need to keep on following and following. I hope that those kind of 5 tips are helpful and useful for you as a leader, that really needs exercise. So when you ask the question, or when you want to have a dialogue with your co-workers or with your team, always think about, write those 5 things and try to exercise and learn the way that you are asking those questions, so that you understand the other side better, and the other side is also has a good background on, the reasons on why you're asking those questions, or how he or she can help you better. But always making sure that the other side is taking those decisions and helping you to be successful. I hope that you keep on subscribing to my channel. I hope that you like it. Please give me a like, and please comment on the topics that you would like to listen to, and also share this channel. So I'm doing this with no intention of making myself rich or something. It's just that when I learn, when I read things, I want to share this as much as I can with the people in the language that I can provide. Hope that you like it. Hope that you have a great day ahead. Bye bye. Nuri again. I hope that you're doing okay. I'm the writer of the book, Leading the Unknown. To work with people who are remote and you never met before. The future is going to be hybrid, remote work, and also you need to have a leader, not a manager.